その日までその日までその日まで愛をしぼむな
Hello everyone and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage, the show where Tennille and myself take a look at every single theatrically released animated film in chronological order. I am Sean Whitney.
And I'm Tennille.
And today we are taking a look at Be Forever Yamato from Toei of Japan. And I just gotta say, we gotta be forever the same movie as we've done before.
We're like, be never Yamato.
In case you can't tell, we didn't really care for this one.
I thought this was exceptionally bad, actually.
This was 2.5 hours of nothing new for the Yamato series, except for a couple of exceptions, and I don't think they did those new things very well.
Yeah.
So, before we get really far into this, I want to say thank you to Yuuko Kagami for finding this movie for us.
Thanks as always. We appreciate whenever people can find movies for us.
Whether we like them or we don't, I appreciate the fact that we can watch them in the first place.
Yes.
This movie was 2.5 hours. And that was an hour too long for what they tried to give us.
Yeah. This could have been confined to like an hour, honestly.
Like a TV
all
special?
these plot beats, like this could have been an hour long, and instead it was 2.5 hours.
Well, speaking
You could
of plot-
probably actually put it in the time slot of an hour and make it actually 45 minutes and have 15 minutes worth of commercials. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong. Speaking of those plot beats, how about we go over them? Oh,
Yes.
Okay, guys, to point out where we last watched some of the Yamato franchise, we watched Adieu Yamato,
Farewell.
Farewell Yamato, where everybody died. But we discussed in that how the fans didn't like that, so they retconned the movie with a TV version of it where only like half the characters died.
Most of them, I think, survive.
Yeah.
There's like a couple of characters that still
3 to
die.
4 characters still died off. And then that happened. And then they made a whole nother season
Right.
of a show after that. And then they did a movie, or a TV movie, which we didn't watch because it was released to theaters, or TV. And then we watched this one, which was released to theaters.
So, to be clear, the only Yamato stuff we have watched is Space Battleship Yamato, Farewell Space Battleship Yamato, and now this film, Be Forever Yamato.
Yes.
And, you know, since we have not watched the series, I only have these movies to base my judgments off of.
And this was incredibly insulting.
Not insulting, it was just boring and bad. Like, if the series goes down this sharp hill of quality the same way like the movies have, woof, I'm sorry.
All right. Speaking of plot similarities,
why didn't we like this?
Let's talk about the
Why
plot.
don't you talk about the plot?
aliens are attacking Earth again. Who could have seen that coming? The brother character from the first movie, who stayed on that planet and got married to the wife of the alien that they are all going after for Iskandar. The planet of Iskandar, which was the goal of the first movie.
I'm trying to remember her name. It was like Sasashira?
I don't remember. Anyways, he is back on Earth now, and he's like one of the head people of the Earth
Defense Squad
military. He dies.
I
So
assume,
cool.
Hopefully this isn't just something that happens in this film, but I assume this is a development that happens in the show.
I would assume he comes back in the show and spends some time, because in this movie, he's there for a little bit, and then he blows himself up to let random old guy escape. I'm pretty sure this old guy is the same old guy that's always believed in the crew of the Yamato. Speaking of the Yamato, it's been decommissioned or put away for secret again, so...
Even though it's still like the best battleship Earth has.
So they gotta
Also,
get the
this is
band
all-
back together, the same way they got the band back together in the last movie.
Oh my god.
So all of the crew members get back together to save Earth. Yuki, the girl, gets left behind because we have to have something new happen. Well, we get to the Yamato, which is hidden inside an asteroid, and we get the whole crew back together. And you know all those characters that died in the previous movies, like the pilot and the guy in charge of the engine and the captain? Well, don't worry, we've replaced them with brothers or lookalikes, and it doesn't matter. This movie cannot...
They get zero characterization, no time spent on them. They're just like, yep, we're filling these slots with characters that look exactly the same as the old characters. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. We just need someone here. And you know, we needed a girl on the ship. So look, we have a girl on the ship who is blonde, who looks identical to every other girl in this entire franchise. They're mocking us at this point.
Whitney, I have a question.
Yes.
Why do all these girls have cone heads?
Because the mangaka cannot draw women. And he can only draw one pseudo-woman, and they all have a cone head.
Yeah.
That's about it. That's why.
So anyway, who is this fresh new blonde face?
Well, it turns out this new blonde girl is his brother's daughter.
So it's his niece.
It's his niece, who is half Iskandarian, and because of that, she has grown to be a young adult in the span of literally 1 year.
It has been 2 years since the events of Space Battleship Yamato. And she is a year old.
And is an adult.
But she looks like a 16 to 20-year-old. Probably closer to 16, though, if we're being honest.
With Japan, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
And by
weird.
the tone of our voice, you probably know where this is going.
There's a love interest thing between main character and his niece. Because Yuki's not on the ship. Because Yuki back on Earth has been captured by one of the aliens. And he's generic hot alien man, I guess. And now they've got like a dynamic of where he's captured her and she can't do anything. But nothing happens.
It's like a Beauty and the Beast situation where like he's taking care of her, but like he's
nice to
enslaved her.
It's really awkward, but like super contrived. You've seen this a million times, and this movie does it really poorly.
Yeah.
So, oh no, the two that honestly, I don't know if they're married at this point, because in
the endgame couple.
The endgame couple of main character and Yuki are separated and are now both confronted with hot counterparts to the other. I don't know how you're supposed to... Whatever.
It's so dumb.
In the last movie, they were getting married.
Yeah.
Are they married here?
I don't know.
They're both of a mindset of, oh no, my significant other may be dead.
They're basically married. Like,
even if they're not married, they
you
are
get
married.
to that point in a relationship with someone where whether you're married or not, you're married. Like you're that person's significant other, you know? Like, it doesn't matter whether they've gotten married or not. These two are essentially married.
Well, now they both have someone else distracting them from their love for each other, I guess. Anyways,
I hate it.
We have this new crew, and they fight the bad guys in space a few times.
The space battles are so boring. Although, okay, we need to point out that the version of this film that we watched,
360p, super teeny tiny, utterly compressed, so all these space battles in dark locations, can't see anything.
Looked like garbage. However, I will say it did look like there was some really nice smoke and like effects animation going on, but I can't even be sure of that because the quality of the video was so bad that my mind might just be filling in the gaps of what I think good animation in that spot would look like.
Yeah, it's like, I think that spot looks good. Like, it swirls cool, but I don't know if the actual quality is good.
Right.
Because the version we're watching is not good.
Yeah.
And this is the only version we could find, but...
Unfortunately.
Anyways, they make it to... Okay, so there's the plot of this particular one. There's a bomb on Earth that'll kill all humans, but the way to set it off is on the home planet of the other people, so of the attacking aliens.
This
so
is
they go.
so contrived.
I mean, they just need the Yamato to go on a space journey, so they do, and they get to the planet of the attacking aliens, and it's Earth, except 200 years in the future, and
they have to
it's
like
weird
warp
and confusing.
through to another galaxy, which is a white nebula galaxy, and yeah, on the other side of this galaxy, the planet that is attacking them is Earth 200 years in the future.
And they don't explain why they're attacking. They just are, and the main characters are super confused, and so they just leave.
They do nothing. They just leave.
Except for
Sasha.
Except for Sasha, the niece. She's like, I love you too much, so I'll stay here.
Yes, because I would get in between you and Yuki. And like, these two have spent very, very
Two conversations.
Yeah, very little time together.
So
you're like,
this movie is
maybe it won't go there. But then no, she starts crying and she's like, I would get in between you and Yuki. And you're like, oh no, it is going there.
You have Yuki, but I have no one. And I'm half alien, so I don't belong on Earth, and other bullshits like that. Like, this
I don't belong on Earth, but she's gonna... Whatever.
This movie tries to set up conflicting love interests for both of the main characters.
Right.
And it fails on every regard. There is never a moment in this movie where you feel like there is actual chemistry between either of these new couples.
Or like an actual threat to the previous...
The status quo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, never, ever does the main character actually express any interest in his niece. It's only the niece kind of imprinting herself on him.
Well,
kind of at most.
I wouldn't say that. The main characters do express interest in the other characters,
but he calls her the wrong name.
But it's so forced that you don't feel threatened by it at all.
Oh yeah, it's not good
because there's like you said, there's just no chemistry there. Whenever they do kind of like tiptoe around it, they always are extremely hesitant and like often bring up their significant other, and not in a like, oh, if only I could get rid of my other significant other or I didn't have to worry about them anymore, I could be with you kind of way. It's a like, no, I love this other person and you're just making me feel weird kind of way.
Born Yesterday. That's the trope I was trying to think of.
Yes, Sasha is the...
absolutely a Born Yesterday character. While she's not completely naive, she's actually fairly intelligent. She is a character that is an adult, but they were born a year ago. And like, this is unfortunately a trope in a lot of anime and to
science fiction in
general, where you get like a new cyborg. It's almost always women. New cyborg woman, or you found her in a tree pod, or these are characters where they're fully adults and they're naive, and like presumably a male interest will fall in love with them and teach them the ways of the world.
Rarely ever is this flipped on its head where it's a male character where the male character hasn't already like lost his innocence. Because that's the thing about the Born Yesterday trope, specifically in female characters, is this idea of like, oh, she's an adult, but she's innocent. She's completely innocent and naive of the world. Whereas usually when it happens with men, they're like, that same kind of thing doesn't happen as often. There are, of course, exceptions to the rule, but like, that's what really makes this the like Born Yesterday trope.
So it's not... She's not a perfect Born Yesterday character because she just fills in the role of generic female character for the ship. So she does all the same stuff. She's not super naive or innocent. It's just kind of, she's there.
Yeah. Anyways,
they leave the planet and
and Sasha behind.
And then they're like, oh wait, that wasn't really Earth. They got the arts wrong.
Yeah, so how they figure this out is
someone
like,
looked at a statue of the Thinker and they're like, wait, he's resting on the wrong hand.
Oh, but what? So instead of potentially thinking like, okay, this is a parallel universe, some things are different, they immediately jump to,
it's a fake!
That whole planet was faking it. Was faking being Earth. And I'm like, okay. Wouldn't be my first thought, but okay.
So they take down the mirage of it, and it's just this big skeletal robot planet, because turns out the aliens that are attacking them this time are cyborgs, where only their heads are flesh and bone, and the rest of their body is robots. It doesn't matter.
What's more important is that their planet is actually the Death Star.
Yeah, it's the Death Star. And so you know what happens? Sasha turns off the defenses. They fly inside, blow it up, and fly out the other side, which saves Earth. Technically on Earth, Yuki disarmed the other half of the bomb, and she had like a sad death scene with her captor. No one cares.
No one cares.
Anyways, the planet explodes. The thing is, the main character had an issue blowing up the planet because Sasha was on there. Well, it doesn't matter because she gets shot on screen by the leader of that planet. So he doesn't have to feel conflicted about killing his niece, who he kind of felt feelings for because she's dead already. So now he gets
or all the aliens on this planet.
Yeah, he gets to just blow up the planet and feel no remorse whatsoever. And it's fine because she's now like a space ghost, like her mom. And so they just both exist in space. So she doesn't technically die, or she does, and it doesn't matter. And he gets to go home to his girlfriend, and the status quo was not changed. Also, the old Captain Man died again because he always does.
He always dies, and he's like, main character,
take over the ship.
Take over the ship. I'm like, why are you even here? Why does anyone listen to any of these captains? Why aren't they just like, why don't we just listen to this guy? He's been piloting the Yamato like longer than anyone else.
It's so true.
It's so dumb. But also, like, remember the first movie where our heroes waged war over resources with another planet, and then they looked out onto the devastation and they were like, war is bad, actually. This was wrong. And I think I'll forever be traumatized by the effects of war. We could have saved these people instead of having to battle over resources. This is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, the second movie ignored that, and the third movie just continues to revel in fighting.
Like, the second movie ignored it, but at least did it in a way where you're like, all right, Earth has to retaliate here. And yes, Earth has to retaliate here as well in this movie.
But they've just completely ignored that revelation they had in the first movie.
Right, like it just does not matter. And I'm so frustrated because as much as I hate this term, I think it gets thrown around too much. This movie really feels like a sellout.
Mm-hmm.
And in the worst possible way. I don't like the term sellout because, hey, sellouts have to eat too.
You gotta make money to
live.
And if you're told to make this movie in this franchise and not change any of the status quo,
then that's
you
what you
invent
gotta
a new
do.
villain. You replace all the characters that people like with identical characters. You kill off half of those extra characters by the end of the movie, and nothing bad happens to the main characters by the end, and you're good. You
reuse plot beats from movies that people liked in the past because, hey, they're here to see more Battleship Yamato.
Steal multiple scenes from Star Wars, and A+.
Yeah. There actually are quite a few
scenes
very
that feel almost
similar.
shot-for-shot remakes of things that happen in the original Star Wars trilogy. And, like, I don't blame them. I don't care. It's just kind of I recognize this scene.
It's funny because, yeah, Yamato was way more popular in Japan than Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. And they came out the same year.
Yeah, they came out the same year. So
it's ironic that they're, like, yanking things from Star Wars.
Right. Yeah, this was extremely disappointing.
There was nothing new here.
And, you know, I wasn't, like, head over heels for Yamato. I thought it was fine. You really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed the first one and the second one. I thought they were a good first part and ending part of a franchise that didn't need to continue. And then they continue for like a million more seasons and movies. I don't know how many more of these are in the same timeline, because I know eventually the series gets rebooted. Right. But I know we have at least one more movie that is set with the same cast and timeline and stuff like that. And I think there's another season after this movie as well.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed that other one is better, but like this was really bad. It
was not good. It was way too long. I don't really suggest anybody watch this.
There's nothing
even Yamato fans, there's nothing here for you.
There's nothing here that you can't find better in one of the other films. The only thing this film has in it that's different is the awful, like, love square, I guess, that's going on.
And, like, the concept of a false Earth, you can do something with that. This movie did nothing with that.
Right, because, like, you know, I was more so expecting with the false Earth thing. I was like, we're 200 years in the future. Okay, so I was expecting some kind of talk about
commentary?
Yeah, some kind of commentary about how, you know, like, well, Earth 200 years in the future knows what bad things Earth is going to do. So in order to stop that from happening, they're going to destroy Earth from the past or something.
Or something.
And then, you know, our heroes will be like, no, we can change our future. We can be better. And then they, like, defeat the bad guys or something. You know, I was expecting it to say something.
And it says
But it
nothing.
says absolutely nothing other than don't date your niece, I guess.
Either way, I would suggest no one watch this.
Anyway, this was also directed by Tomoharu Katsumata.
You got that correct.
Toshio Masuda. And
Leiji Matsumoto.
Leiji Matsumoto. Yeah.
L's and R's are about the same thing, so it's Leiji or Reiji Matsumoto.
Yeah. And so there were 3 directors on this film.
Cool.
Yeah. But there really wasn't a whole lot of information I could find about the production other than just, you know, like it's another Yamato thing. Anyway, next time.
All right. We're not done. Japan, space opera, over 2 hours long. Next time, it's Cyborg 009, Legend of the Super Galaxy, another franchise we're familiar with, but this time they're going to space. See you then.
Robots gotta be going to space.
その頃にはきらめく星が戻り心には優しい歌が